Hello again from my front porch. I am actually in Ticonderoga, New York, on this field, this sports field at the local elementary school. I'm not actually doing anything at the elementary school, but there are activities at the elementary school related to a big event going on here in Ticonderoga this weekend, which is why I'm here, which is also why Deeg, my new friend Deeg, is here, and you can see that she's got a little telltale symbol of indication of why we're here, Star Trek related stuff, which you're going to hear a lot more about that in the next episode. In this episode, there's a whole different star that we're going to talk about. You like the way I did that, huh? Nice segue, yeah. And that is Frank Sinatra. Now, some of you know that I do some amateur singing, some things and stuff, and I have in my repertoire various crooner songs from Dean Martin and other singers like that, but several that are Frank Sinatra songs. I'm always a little intimidated actually to do Frank Sinatra songs because it's a Frank Sinatra song. Right. Once you've heard Frank Sinatra sing it, it's like everything else pales by comparison. Because the man just had the voice, just incredible. She agrees. She agrees a lot. In fact, you really like Frank Sinatra.
I do. Yeah. I do. I've liked Frank Sinatra ever since I've been about 11 years old. Mm-hmm. And I just found him incredibly talented and just wanted to learn all his music. Mm-hmm. I saw him on TV. That's where I first saw him. Yeah. Via John Denver. Got to get a John Denver plug in too. Great artist. But that's really how I found Frank Sinatra in the mid 70s, and
And you just latched on to him.
Just hooked on to him. I said, hey, this guy's pretty good. I want to listen to more of his music, and the more I listened to, the more I liked. I collected all the albums through high school and learned a lot from a radio DJ in Philly named Sid Mark. Kudos to Sid, who's no longer with us. He played Sinatra over 60 years.
Wow.
So I learned a lot of the music while listening to his show, and decided when I went to college I wanted to do my own radio show.
Okay, so now this is interesting, because there are a lot of people who are big fans. I got a bug that really likes me. There are a lot of folks who are really big fans of different, like for example, I'm a big fan of the Monkees. Okay. I really like the Monkees. I've got all their albums and I got all kinds of collectible things and stuff. But I listen to it for my own enjoyment and for the suffering of anybody else riding in my car, and but that's about the extent of where I take that. You took your love and passion for Sinatra to a whole nother level. That it wasn't just something that you immersed yourself in for your own enjoyment. You decided, I'm gonna share this with the world.
That's exactly right. I decided I wanted to share the music. I wanted people to hear the music. I thought it deserved to be out there. I also feel that a lot about Mr. Sinatra is misunderstood, and I think personally he's one of the most amazing, talented people ever. His philanthropy, just the way he lived his life very honestly. Yeah. He has the reputation of being a thug or being a mean guy or being
a mobster.
But I think a lot of that, one era he grew up, where he grew up, the fascination with the mob and the power. So I get that. But there's also so many other facets to him, and how honest he was, and how family oriented and friend oriented.
Well, there are things that we've talked about that you're sharing with me that I this is probably well known, and other people. I didn't know he painted.
Yeah, he painted. Very early on in his career, he enjoyed painting. I think he did clowns a lot early in his career. Did a few landscapes from what I have gathered, but ultimately later in his career, like in the 80s, he would start doing abstract paintings. And that's one of my things. I would love to have a Sinatra original in my house. Maybe
those are probably a little hard to come by these days now.
Well, I've seen a couple up close in Hoboken. Yeah. We have a plug for the Hoboken Historical Society in Hoboken, New Jersey, his birthplace. Yeah. You know, you can find out a lot about him through town there. They have a little Sinatra tour around the town, which is great.
So then you took this
But
passion, I mean, all of
but
this,
I
this interest, because again, people, you say Frank Sinatra and people think singing, that's the
right.
music, and that's okay
But
because
he's
he's,
a great
yeah,
actor, and he's
but
you know.
so now you've taken all of this interest and this broad understanding of who Frank Sinatra was and this broad appreciation for his variety of talents and abilities, and you've channeled that into a radio program.
Right, right. So when I was leaving high school, going to college,
Hmm.
I wanted to have my own radio show where I shared the music of Frank Sinatra.
Hmm.
So actually, one of the criteria of my college search was they had to have a radio station. And the second criteria was I wanted to play basketball.
Yeah.
So that's how I wound up at Dickinson College in Carlisle, PA. And it had to be a good school, you know, I was a decent student. So anyway.
On the basketball front, for my friends back in Iowa, big Caitlin Clark fan here.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't know
she
about
knows of her.
big. I just appreciate her. I don't really follow basketball as much as I should.
But she brought her up in
I
conversation,
appreciate
not me. So
talent.
yeah.
Any good talent. There's a lot of great players out there. I
Mhm.
love Dawn Staley,
Yeah.
coach of South Carolina. She's a Philly girl, and I'm
Yeah.
a Philly girl. So. But anyway, back to, so I go to college. I get a radio show freshman year. I keep
Mhm.
it all 4 years. It's all
Yep.
Frank Sinatra. And I just want to share the music. I play more music than I do talk. At least I try to.
So
And
as a college student, did you get any pushback or any resistance to doing a
No.
show just completely dedicated to Frank Sinatra?
Actually, they when they called me and said, "Hey, do you still want to do this radio show?" It was like the first month of school. I said, "Yeah." They said, "Great, we had somebody just graduated did one
They did?
of Sinatra." They
Oh,
told me,
really?
and then after I left, for several years, different people apparently did them.
Continued it on. Huh?
So yeah, so I took, I did my 4 years. You go on with your life, but I stayed in Carlisle because I got a job. But I left the radio station about 20 years later. I'm like, wait, they have community DJs.
Yeah.
And so I knew the advisor at the time and said, hey, can I get back on the air? Yep. And so I've been on the air now 14 years since then.
Wow.
Every Monday night.
Every Monday, so
6 to 8
every
p.m.
week?
Eastern time.
So every week, every Monday night, except with very few little times
Every
you might
Monday
step away.
night.
But every Monday night for 14 years, only Sinatra.
Yeah.
And I asked her the other night. I said, so how do you repeat? Do you recycle? And she said, no, not really.
Not,
I mean,
not a lot.
There might be some things that get repeated because of timeliness or related to holiday or something like that. But that you track every show that you've done, and you try to avoid repetition in those things.
Yeah, he's got so much material out there. He recorded over 1,300 songs. 3 different phases. Basically, he was at Columbia. The big bands then at Columbia Records through the 40s.
Yep.
And then he was at Capitol in the 50s, and then he created his own record company, Reprise, in the 60s. So I try to vary it up. I keep track of which albums I feature sometimes, so I'll just kind of focus on information from the album, or sometimes I'll focus on an arranger, or sometimes I'll focus on a songwriter. Sometimes I'll focus on just a weird theme that I thought of that week, or something that happened to me at the end of the week. Like Monday, I will probably try to work in this weekend
some kind of Star Trek thing.
And different people I talk to and meet. So it might work into my show on Monday.
Might reference
Paul,
that.
I'll try to do that. But no, my main purpose is to share the music because I think it deserves to be shared, and I also think everybody knows a couple of Sinatra songs.
Yep.
Oh yeah, My Way and Strangers in the Night and That's Life and Summer Wind is big. But some of his greatest work is not those songs. I mean, obviously there's classic, it was a very good year. Everybody knows that's classic. Becomes a classic for a reason, and same with My Way. It's a great recording. But there's so many other great recordings, and I have people throughout my travels or friends or coworkers and things like that that will start to listen, and they'll just be like, I tuned into your show the other night, and it was really awesome. I didn't know he had that kind of music or so much music. Like I played bossa nova the other night, and people hear that and they say, that's Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Or, you know, just some of his powerful torch ballads or, you know, beautiful love songs. They're just like, wow, he has so much music. I'm like, yes, that's what
And so
shared.
then among sharing this variety, this, I'll say, cornucopia of talent that Frank Sinatra had musically, you also then share of these other facts, this other information.
Yeah.
That you share some greater insight into who Frank Sinatra was as an artist, but also as a human being.
I try to. I don't try to get too personal because, hey, I didn't know the man, and I don't really feel comfortable making pronouncements about what I think he was. But I think when you read enough, you really see patterns and you hear people talk about him. So I feel fairly confident in the things that I do say about him. But I do like to give, you know, when was this recorded? Who's working on this? I recognize the other musicians and arrangers and, you know, different background stories. And I share personal experience, like Sinatra stories that I might have. I've been really fortunate. One of my listeners lives in Hoboken, and I met him at the statue unveiling, and he started
Sinatra statue.
They unveiled that a few years ago, and he started listening to my show. But he's involved in the planning of this My Way Sinatra sing-off that they have every year in Hoboken. It's usually in June, and he kind of pushed and got my name in there to be a judge for this singing contest.
Cool.
And so this was the second year I was able to do that. So it's fun because I do the same thing there that I do on my show.
Yeah.
You know, when the person sings their song and they're done, I like to try to give a little of the background of that song or that composer.
Yeah.
Or as opposed to just, you know, who am I to critique?
Yeah.
You know, the singer. I'm not super confident with that because, one, like we said earlier, there's only one Frank Sinatra. That's kind of a saying I use. There's only one Sinatra.
I'm not sure how, honestly, no offense, but I don't know that I would trust your critique of a Sinatra song because you're obviously biased.
Probably.
No, I say that facetiously
no, but
because
it's funny.
I've never heard a bad Frank Sinatra song.
Yeah, there's a few.
Really?
You know, I usually, this year, I think February 29th.
Yeah.
It might have even been an actual Monday, and a theme of my show that week was songs you should only hear once every 4 years. And so there are a few that aren't great. You know, like "Come Waltz with Me" is not great.
So you know this radio show she does just sounds fascinating, doesn't it? Don't you wish you could listen to this show? If only there was a way that people could listen to this show. Is there a way people could listen?
Yes. You can stream my show from anywhere in the world. All you need to do is go on the internet and go to the site wdcvfm.com, and that'll get you to the Dickinson College radio station site.
Yep.
And you just click on the menu and listen online. That's wdcvfm.com, and I'm on every Monday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Eastern Time.
So if you're not in the Eastern Time, figure that out. And yeah, and I also say a lot of whether you can tune in for 2 songs or the full 2 hours, you know, please do.
Now, is there an archive of the songs?
You know, there's not.
Or of the shows?
The station has them, but they don't provide access.
They're not posted online for
to
people to
them.
go look at and search on.
It's a student-run station, basically. We do have some community DJs that play various music. Bluegrass is very big, you know, and other people do some unusual shows. They do a couple talk shows. There's one called Democracy Now, and there's you know, some of the professors do shows. But when the students are there, then there's a lot more.
Yeah.
But there's always something on the air, and even if I am not live, which I very rarely miss a Monday night. I might miss 2 a year. But they replay an old show in place.
So
they
they've
can
got
always catch it, and they know that spot is Deeg's spot whenever the new station management rolls around.
Don't mess with Deeg.
Yeah. I've mellowed a lot.
Well, thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
sharing
Paul.
about your show
Appreciate it.
and about your
Thank
love
you.
and passion for Sinatra.
Yeah, I hope we get some listeners
and
from it.
and now we're gonna head back inside because there's big doings about to be
doings.
happening that you again.
Can we
you'll,
say
you'll,
who's
you'll
coming?
hear more about. Oh, yeah, why not? We can give a teaser.
It's William Shatner.
Captain Kirk himself.
I want to ask
Yes.
him if he liked Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, and then if he says any response, if he says yes and tells a story, then we got to try to capture that audio so that she can use it on her show.
I hadn't thought of that. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
you.
And with that, I'll see you all next time from my front porch.